Hey guys, it's Ellie. So this video is specifically for my teens again. This is going to be part 2 of the healthy relationships. It's going to be a little bit different from my lesson just because usually in my lessons it's based on the responses that I get from my students. And so again, something I always tell y'all, if you don't agree with something that I'm saying or you feel differently about it, feel free to challenge me or to let me know your opinion or perspective on it. And since we aren't face to face right now, you can do that in the comments and we can kind of discuss it that way, okay? But basically for the video today, what we're going to do is we're real quick going to cover the 4 types of abuse. And then we are going to do my the little card activity. For those of you who have been in my lessons before, we do this card activity where there's different behaviors or scenarios and we decide if it's healthy, unhealthy, or abusive. So again, I'm gonna read it and then talk about it. I'll tell you some of my more typical responses that I get, or how I may have felt about it whenever I was a teen, or even in my early 20s, how I would have felt about this stuff, and kind of how my perspective on it all has changed as I've gotten older and experienced more and gained a better understanding of what healthy actually is. And so that is why we go through these, because there's a lot that happens in our relationships, especially dating relationships, that they're unhealthy or abusive behaviors, but we don't realize that they're unhealthy or abusive, or society has kind of normalized it or taught us that it's a way for someone to show us that they care about us, whenever really it's not someone caring about us, it's someone controlling us, and so or wanting power over us. And so that's why we go through these, because a lot of these, they happen often. And so we're gonna take a look at those. So here we go. First, the 4 types of abuse. We talked about it in the last lesson. I'll cover them again today. So there is mental, emotional, verbal, and physical. Those are our 4 that we're gonna be covering. Now, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between mental and emotional? Well, mental is more where it changes how you think about something, and then emotional, it's more of like gaining control and power over how you feel about something. Now, why people abuse? I like to ask this question to kind of get ideas from people as to why they think other people abuse. And so I get a lot of answers like, well, what if that person was raised that way? Or what if, they're under the influence and that's why they do it, like only whenever they're under the influence, or what if, they have insecurities or anger problems. But whenever we start saying stuff like that, we kind of excuse the behaviors. So really what we want to go back to, the 2 reasons why people abuse, is to gain power and control in a situation or over another individual. So to gain power and control, that's why people abuse, okay? So we are going to talk about that. Now, whenever I'm going through these, something that I want you to think about is, if the purpose behind the behavior or the scenario is to change how you think, how you feel, or how you act, we're going to place it with abusive, all right? I don't want you to think to yourself like, oh, I don't care if someone did that, or if that's happened in my relationship, like whatever, I would still do whatever I want to. Cool, that's awesome that you wouldn't let it affect you, but I do want you to think about the purpose behind the other person's behavior. If it is to change how someone thinks, how someone feels, or how someone acts, then it is an abusive behavior, especially if this is something that has happened over and over and over again after you've set boundaries. It's a continuous thing. So that is something that I want you to think about while we're talking about these. I'm not going to do too many because I know after a while it can get exhausting or boring hearing my voice, and so I'm not going to go through too many today, and then I'll just kind of do some random videos later after some other lessons and go back through more, okay? So I I just want you to think, is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Or is it abusive? For some of them, we're going to talk about how it could go either way on the spectrum, how some of them, they may seem like they're between healthy and unhealthy, or between unhealthy and abusive. What are some things that can, you know, cause it to move in one direction or the other? So yeah, we're going to talk about that. And as always, leave a comment or a question or whatever below if you know you feel differently, or if you have questions about something specific. And at the end, I'll leave our phone number and our website so that you can reach out to us that way. You can also find us through Instagram or Facebook. So if you have questions or anything like that, you can reach us through there too. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, a lot of these, they use the word partner. Like I said, I am going to use the word partner. I'm not going to use husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. One, because it's not specific, and two, because our relationship should be a partnership no matter what kind of relationship it is. Or both people are putting the work in, both people are practicing healthy behaviors. And is it going to be uneven every now and then? Yes, it will be. But if it's consistent, then it's unhealthy, right? So it does use the word partner in here a lot, and a lot of these are geared more towards dating relationships. But I know some of you may not be in dating relationships, and that's perfectly fine. These can relate to, some of these can relate to any type of relationship. And so I'll try to keep that in mind whenever I'm reading them, if they can relate to like friendships as well, or, you know, relationships with family members and stuff like that too. Okay, so let's start with our first one. And it says, you and your partner schedule specific times to have date nights or to hang out with each other frequently, but not daily. So I want you to kind of think about, where would you put that one? So y'all schedule specific times to have date nights or to hang out with each other frequently and not daily. That doesn't mean that like you pull out your calendars and it's like, oh, hey, you know, how about this night and then this night? It just means that you still carve out time for other people and other things. So this one is healthy. Yeah, it is okay if you hang out every day, but if you're only hanging out with each other and you're not spending time with your friends anymore, or you're not spending time with your family, or you're not spending time doing the things that you enjoy just for yourself anymore, that's whenever it becomes unhealthy. So it is okay to spend time apart from your dating partner, and same with your best friend. A lot of the time we'll get like a best friend and we only spend time with that one person, or like if we start to like hang out with other friends, then our best friend is like, oh, you're not really my best friend anymore because you have this other group of friends or whatever. That's super unhealthy. It's okay for you to have more than one friend. You should have more than one friend. It's important for us to. So for this one, it is healthy. Again, not necessarily that you have to write it down on a calendar, put it like in your phone or whatever for like specific days and times, but that you are still taking time for yourself, for your friends, for family members, and all of that. Okay, so that one is healthy. All right, let's look at, let me see. Okay, this one, I get a lot of pushback from, so we'll talk about this one. You and your partner feel like you can share things with each other, but you also feel like you can keep some things private. So think about that one. You feel like you can share things with each other, but you also feel like you can keep some things private. I hear a lot, and I heard it growing up too, that like your partner, your dating partner especially, or like your best friend, you should be able to share everything with each other, right? No secrets at all. That's not necessarily true. So with this, whenever it comes to our friends and our dating partners, there are two things that you should be keeping private. One, password to your phone. Two, passwords to your social media accounts. Those things should be kept private. It's not something that we should be sharing. I know there's this idea, especially in dating relationships, that if you trust each other, then you share that with each other. That's not actual trust though. Actual trust means that like that's your private information, that's their private information, and you trust that whatever they're doing, whoever they're talking to, whoever they're friends with or following or whatever, that they're making the right choice. That is trust. But trust does not mean thinking that, oh, we're in a relationship now, so, you know, we deserve to have access to each other's social media accounts. Because really, when you think about it, like, why do you need access to that? You really don't need access to that. A lot of the time we think that we need access to it, but it leads to unhealthy behaviors. There's another one in here that we'll talk about, and so sharing that stuff does lead to it. So if your partner or your best friend decides to share that with you, okay, whatever, that's on them, but that does not mean that you have to share it with them, and you shouldn't. I do have a lot of students who have shared in the past where they shared their passwords with their friends, their best friends, people they've been friends with for like years, since they were, you know, super small kids. And then their like friendship, they had an argument or whatever, and so their friend went into their social media accounts and changed the passwords, so they were blocked out of their own accounts, and then their friends posted a whole bunch of personal stuff, and they couldn't do anything about it, because they were locked out of their accounts. So that's the thing with relationships, is they go up and they come down. It's kind of like a roller coaster. In all of our relationships, you're going to have some sort of conflict at some point. Yes, you want to trust that the other person, that they wouldn't do something like that to you, but it's better to be safe. And again, really, there's no reason why they need access to that stuff. And so with our friends and with our dating partners, keeping stuff like your passwords to your phone and your social media accounts private is really important. And then I've heard from a lot of other students too, like, well, what about, you know, family problems? Yeah, for sure. If you don't want to share that with your friends, or if you don't want to share that with your dating partner, you don't have to. My rule with this is kind of, if it doesn't directly affect the other person and it's not something you're comfortable sharing with them, then you don't have to share it with them. Now, if it does directly affect them, then they should probably know about it. But again, if you're not comfortable sharing it with them, you do not have to. So with that one, it is healthy. It's okay to keep some things private, like passwords. Okay. All right. Let's see this one. You always feel like your partner's wishes and goals come first. This can happen with friends too. A lot of people say that this one is healthy because, like, oh, you should be thinking about the other person. Yeah, that's good. Like, yes, you should be thinking about the other person. But if you feel like their wishes and goals always come first, that's unhealthy, because that means that you're constantly having to put them ahead of yourself. They're not thinking about you because they're not putting your wishes and goals first. And so there's that imbalance, right? And remember, it needs to be a partnership. So yes, it's okay if every now and then, like, you know, their wishes and goals, like sometimes we have to put something aside or kind of hold off on something to help them meet their wish or their goal. But you also need to be able to think about yours too. That's important. So yes, with that one is unhealthy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Your partner demands that you talk to them every single day. So, in our relationships, we should not be demanding anything. That's not healthy at all. This one is definitely unhealthy, and it can become abusive. If someone is demanding that you talk to them every single day. So again, what is the point behind that? The point is to change how you act, right? Like, maybe you don't want to talk to your partner every single day, or same with your friend. Maybe you don't want to talk to them every single day. I'm kind of that person. I don't talk to my best friend or best friends every single day. Even with family members, I don't talk to them every single day. I'm just not that type of person. And so, you know, being with someone who demands that from you. Now, again, some of you may say, like, oh, I don't care, I wouldn't do it anyway. They can get mad if they want to. Okay. But again, that is an abusive behavior if they're demanding that you talk to them every single day. In our relationships, we should want to, like, that's okay if you want to, but you shouldn't feel like you have to talk to them every single day. So if your partner or your best friend is demanding that you talk to them every single day, you should probably start rethinking that. You know, definitely setting those boundaries and saying, like, hey, I'm okay if we talk, like, every other day, or, you know, like, I'm okay with, you know, talking to you every day, but not whenever you are demanding it from me. Again, setting those boundaries is really important, letting people know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. Okay? All right. Ooh, this one. Your partner threatens to break up with you every time you say or do something they don't like. So, your partner threatens to break up with you every time you say or do something they don't like. This one is abusive. So the thing with labeling things as abusive, sometimes we're scared to, especially if it doesn't leave like marks on our body. That's why, you know, in the beginning I talked about the 4 types of abuse, because out of those 4 types, only one leaves marks on your body, and that's physical, right? And so with the other ones, a lot of the time we feel like it doesn't really affect us, or because we can't see the damage that's been done, then it's not really abuse. That's not true. The other ones typically actually take longer for us to heal from, because they're the things that happen continuously, and they're the things that we, again, feel like aren't really abuse, and so they happen over a longer period of time, and maybe we don't seek help for that because we feel like, oh, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, it didn't leave a mark on our body, but it is a big deal. And so for something like this, someone threatening to break up with you every time you say or do something that they don't like, or even with a friend, you know, threatening to not be your friend every single time you choose to do something without them, or choose like to hang out with a certain group of people, or go and like do a certain thing, or whatever it may be, it for a lot of people can change who you are over time, right? Because if you are a person who is affected by this, or influenced by this, then you know, you're gonna start changing like the things that you say, or how you act, or how you think about things, how you feel about things, and you just as an individual, you change, and then this becomes something that you think is normal in relationships, and then we start to allow it in other relationships, and that's just not how it should be. So this is a type of abuse. It's manipulation. It's not something that should be happening in our relationships. So yes, that one is abusive. Okay. Let me see. Let's talk about these 2 together real quick. So your partner controls who you talk to, and your partner controls your social media accounts. These 2 things happen so often in our relationships, so often. With friends, especially with dating partners, it happens all the time. I do like to tell, you know, my students, like, I like to be pretty honest about things that, yes, I have been a victim of abusive behaviors like this, but I have also practiced these unhealthy and abusive behaviors before, like especially in high school. You know, if my partner cheated on me, or like when my partner cheated on me, I did feel like then I deserve to, you know, be able to control who they talk to, or their social media accounts. But that's really unhealthy. And again, control is in there. And what did we say? Why do people abuse? Because they want power and they want control. So controlling someone's social media account, that's an abusive behavior. Again, it happens all the time in relationships, and it shouldn't. Trusting your partner means that you don't need access to that stuff, right? Or that you trust, like, whoever they're hanging out with, wherever they're going, whoever they're talking to, you trust that they're making the right decisions. Now, are we going to have insecurities, and are we going to get jealous? Yeah, that's like a natural thing for us. But the healthy way to go about it is to talk to our partner about it, and to let them know, like, hey, I'm feeling insecure about this, or hey, can we talk about, like, you know, your friendship with this person, or, you know, this person that you're following, or whatever it may be. Like, can we have a conversation about it, and talk to them about it? If y'all talk about it and they tell you, hey, you don't have anything to worry about, and you still can't trust them, then that's when you need to decide what's going on. Like, you need to decide, okay, is this like trust issues that I'm bringing over from a past relationship? Is this because of something my partner's done? Is this just my own insecurities? And then you need to decide what you're going to do. Either you're going to move forward and you are going to truly trust your partner after having that conversation, or you need to get out of that relationship. Because typically what does happen is we decide like, oh, we'll have that conversation with our partner, and then, you know, we still don't believe them, and so we start snooping through their phone and controlling that stuff. And again, that is unhealthy, that is abusive, it's not okay. I hear a lot of students who tell me like, yeah, my partner doesn't want me talking to, you know, this person, but I've been friends with them since I was a kid. That's not fair for us to take that away from our partner. Someone who enhances their life, someone who they've been friends with for years, that's not okay for us to just take that away from them. The other answer that I get with reasons why someone feels like it's okay for them to control who their partner talks to, they say, well, what if I know that like the people my partner's hanging out with don't make good choices? Or what if I know that, you know, they like are involved in like dangerous or unhealthy stuff? Then what? Well, again, you can talk to your partner about your concerns and you can make suggestions, but ultimately it needs to be your partner's choice. If it involves us controlling our partner in any way, you have to think about that. Like, what does that look like, controlling someone, especially who they talk to, right? It involves really unhealthy behaviors. And so again, it needs to be their decision. You can talk to your partner about your concerns, but ultimately you have control over you and your decision making, but you should not have control over your partner. It needs to be their decision. And ultimately you will feel better if it's your partner's decision anyway and not you making it for them. So talking to your partner about that stuff, but not controlling their stuff, not controlling who they talk to, who they hang out with, where they go, who they're following on social media, who's following them. All of those are unhealthy and abusive behaviors. So if that's happening in your relationships, setting those boundaries. And again, if your partner decides like to share their passwords with you, that doesn't mean that you have to share it with them at all, okay? In fact, I suggest that you don't. So let's talk about one more, and then I'll be done with this video because I know it's getting kind of long and you're probably getting tired of hearing me talk. So let's talk about this one. Your partner appreciates your passions and encourages you to do the things that you love. So this one is healthy. So your partner appreciating your passions and encouraging you to do the things you love. This one is healthy. With friends, with family members, with dating partners, very healthy for them to be supportive. We talked about that. People being supportive and encouraging us to do the things that we love. I also want you to keep in mind, it's important for you to have things that you're passionate about. It's important for you to have hobbies. It's important for you to have things that you do for self-care, things that you do just for yourself, not because anyone else expects you to, but just because it helps you be a better version of yourself. It's also important that your friends have that, and that your dating partner, you know, if you're in a dating relationship or before you get in a dating relationship, that they have that stuff too. Having those conversations, because sometimes what happens is we'll get in a relationship and like that person becomes our whole world, and what they do becomes our whole world, and we don't really have things that we do for ourselves. And so again, our relationships, they have ups and they have downs. And so whenever you know, we have like a conflict in our relationship, well, like let's say we only have one person, like let's say it's our dating partner, or let's say we just have one best friend, okay, and that's it. And you're in that part of your relationship, like what if y'all break up, or what if you get into an argument and you're not talking, or whatever it may be, then who do you have and what do you have? You feel like you have nothing and you feel like you have no one, and that's not okay. You deserve to feel like you have, you know, a support system, which is more than one person. And so making sure that you have a support system, like before you get into a relationship, this is important, making sure that you have a solid group of friends, a good group of trusted adults that you can go to, and that you have your own hobbies and your own passions, things that are just for you, things that you enjoy doing. And then the same for your dating partner, making sure that they have that as well. It's really important because sometimes, you know, we may have that, but our partner doesn't. And so they become super dependent on us. And then whenever we're hanging out with our friends or we're doing the things that we love, they have a hard time with it because we're their whole world. And then we stop doing that stuff because we feel like, oh, I need to be there for my dating partner, right? And so then you both become isolated, which is not a good thing. So just making sure that you have things that you love, you have things that you are passionate about, you have hobbies, you have a good support system with friends and family members, and that your partner has that too. And same with your friends, all right? And if not, you know, helping them. Try to figure that stuff out, what they like to do. And build those connections with other people. So, okay, this is today's video. I'll end up going through another video with more cards because there's still more here that we haven't gone through. So I'll end up doing that eventually. But if you have questions, if you have comments, if you feel differently about something, if you want to talk about something, leave it in the comments below. Message us on Facebook or Instagram, go to our website or call us. And I think that's it. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Y'all have a great week and weekend. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.